In 1025 AD, a fleet of 100 wooden ships pushed into the dark waters of the Indian Ocean. On board were 3,000 soldiers, sailing toward a target they couldn't see. These men carried no compasses and no paper maps. To navigate, they relied entirely on the ancestral memory of their pilots, tracking the stars, the seasonal winds, and the patterns of the monsoon to find their way. Their destination, the Sri Vijaya Empire, was 2,000 kilometers away. The Sri Vijaya Empire turned this geography into a global toll gate. They forced every foreign merchant ship to dock and pay heavy fees, destroying any vessel that tried to bypass their ports. Beyond the economic cost, there was a calculated diplomatic insult. Sri Vijaya diplomats convinced the Chinese court that the massive Chola Empire of South India was actually a subordinate vassal state, loyal to Sri Vijaya. King Rajendra Chola had spent his life in the shadow of his legendary father. This humiliation offered him the perfect pretext to strike, but he faced a structural wall. In the 11th century, kings ruled the land, while the sea belonged to merchants. Rajendra possessed the army, but he lacked the specialized ships and navigators needed to strike a target across the ocean. To solve the shipping problem, Rajendra formed a pact with the 500, a massive, decentralized merchant corporation. The 500 operated like a modern megacorp, with its own private mercenaries, deep-sea fleets, and a financial grudge against Sri Vijaya's trade taxes. Before committing to the invasion, they ran a trial. While Rajendra's army marched north toward the Ganges, the 500 sailed parallel to the coast, providing a constant stream of food and supplies to the troops on land. The test was a success. Rajendra returned with holy water from the Ganges to his new capital, proving that a public-private partnership could sustain a massive military force over thousands of kilometers. This logistical blueprint gave Rajendra the confidence to move his soldiers off the coast and into the deep ocean toward Sri Vijaya. In 1025 AD, the plan went live. Guided by Tamil navigators, the fleet crossed the ocean and reached the city of Kadaram without being detected by Sri Vijaya's coastal guards. The attack was devastatingly efficient. Chola soldiers looting 12 port cities and captured the Sri Vijaya king, instantly ending the empire's trade monopoly. Rajendra took the title of King of Kings, but shortly after his victory, he retreated into isolation, leaving the day-to-day management of his empire to others. He relied on the Kuda Oi system, where local villages held elections using palm leaves and ballot pots. This allowed Chola communities to govern their own taxes and justice systems without royal intervention. By outsourcing his military logistics to merchants and his domestic rule to local councils, Rajendra built an empire that functioned on its own, eventually making the king himself redundant. Following the victory, the 500 stayed in Southeast Asia. They built fortified ports across Sumatra and Thailand, taking over Sri Vijaya's old role as private tax collectors. While Rajendra died in the quiet of his palace, this merchant class was amassing unchecked wealth and power across the sea. Eventually, the merchants became so powerful they simply stopped sending revenue back to the Chola state. They kept the profits for themselves, starving the empire's treasury from the inside out. Without this corporate tax revenue, the Chola Empire went bankrupt. By 1279 AD, the once mighty dynasty had quietly vanished from history. The merchant corporation outlived Rajendra's bloodline by 7 centuries, turning his military victory into a long-term corporate asset. 600 years before the British East India Company used similar tactics to dominate the subcontinent, the Cholas had already provided the historical prototype for the corporate-state alliance. This partnership solved the immediate problem of supply lines, but it also armed a private entity with the means to eventually ignore the crown entirely. Delegating national ambitions to a profit-driven organization creates a partner that can survive even if the state itself goes bankrupt. In this dynamic, the nation pays for the war, while the corporation secures the spoils.